Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about spellcasting, and specifically, we're going to be talking about the Artificer, that strange class that came up in the Eberron books and was expanded upon in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So few people play Artificers, and that's because they are a real oddball class. Half-casters that have decent melee abilities and very, very well-balanced subclasses, I might add. But their spell list is pretty minimal, and they're the only intelligence caster other than wizards, so it's weird. Where do you put your stock in this character? Do you go support? Do you go frontline? Do you go damage dealing? What do you do? And with the limited spell list, as the Artificer enters the third level spell area, they're already at level 9, halfway through the game, getting to the end of tier 2, and they're trying to play catch up with the other casters. But they do get some pretty interesting selections, and I've chosen a top 5 list for all of you who want to make Artificers, and I think that it is going to be quite a ride if you're taking an Artificer all the way up to level 3 spells. So you deserve a reward, and here are my selections for what spells you should try. Starting at number 5, we have Tiny Servant. Very Artificer appropriate. You spend a minute casting this spell, and you touch a mundane tiny object, and it sprouts legs and arms and starts walking around. Very Beauty and the Beast, the house caretakers and their animated objects. But this isn't the animate object spell. This lasts for 8 hours, concentration free, I might add, where this little creature, this little animated tiny servant, follows you around. You can give it general orders and it'll just do what you ask it to do, or you can control it in combat by giving it orders on what it's supposed to do, whether it's attack or help. It does function somewhat like a familiar in that respect, except it does actually have an attack. Not a particularly strong one. It has a little more hit points and a better armor class than your average familiar, but it definitely feels like another familiar. And since Artificers already get the ability to get familiars if they multi-class, or if they use the Magic Initiate feat, and they get other pets, the Beast, not the Beastmaster, but the Battlesmith gets their pets, and then the Artillerist gets their cannon. There's a lot of things Artificers can order around, and adding a tiny servant into that as your pseudo-familiar definitely helps. You can also get homunculuses, and just have their own little tinker army around with you, and this spell adds to that. They have climbing speeds, blind sight. They're just nice little helpers that can function in combat to some degree and out of combat to a wonderful degree. So yeah, Tiny Servant definitely is a good pick. Now, number 4 on the Artificer spell list, I would recommend Intellect Fortress. This spell, very simple, cast it as an action, and for the next hour, the creature that you designate has resistance to psychic damage, so that's cool. But it also has advantage on all its mental saving throws, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Now, there are some races that get this, and that is one of the most powerful things a race can get. This spell just gives it to you. If you know you're going to be making mental saving throws, especially if you're going to be fighting up against enemies with psychic damage, or just spellcasters in general, this spell can make someone far more potent up against these deadly effects and these debilitating damage types. It's just a really good defensive spell. Now, I will say that psychic damage is not the most common in the game, but those saving throws really make it. You pair this up with a Paladin's Aura of Protection, and someone in your party is not going to be failing their saves. They're going to be fine. And I think that it is well worth considering as a buff spell for the party. Now, at number 3, we have quite a unique little spell. We have Revivify. It turns out that Artificers get some healing spells, and Revivify is one of them. Revivify is a spell you should never leave home without. If a creature has died within the last minute, you take a 300 gold piece diamond and you cast Revivify. The diamond is consumed and they come back to life. If the death saves just don't pan out, and the healing spells have run out, and the healing potions have run out, and someone actually dies, because it can happen, Revivify is there to save the day. So you don't have to roll up new characters or, end the campaign because people died. No, Revivify is there. Just make sure you got that diamond on you. And yeah, if no one else in your party has it, and you made it all the way to 9th level with no one dying, have the Artificer grab it, because it's better to have more people than one with Revivify. Now, for the 2nd level spell, or the 2nd spell on this list of 3rd level spells, I chose Haste. Haste is a super buff in combat. You cast it on a creature, their movement speed doubles. They gain an extra action every turn to do something combat related, like attack. And they get a +2 to their AC and advantage on their dex saves. Like these, they are basically just sped up. The world moves a little slower for them, and they are just hyperspeed. And it's a really, really powerful buff. I would pick Haste over Intellect Fortress 9 times out of 10. Because it just, anybody who's already making multiple attacks, the Marshal, the Fighter, the Paladin, or someone who's already got high AC that you just want to cap a little bit more, this is definitely the spell for you. It lasts a minute with concentration, and the only real downside is that when it ends, a wave of lethargy washes over the person, but, after a minute, combat should have ended, especially if you had a hasted fighter in your party. So, Haste, one of the best combat buffs out there. Only beaten out by the number 1 spell on this list, and that is Fly. Because it's all well and good to have advantage on dex saves, extra AC, and extra action. That's fine. That's all wonderful stuff. But assuming you're fighting against no one with people that don't have ranged attacks, none of that matters because you can just fly. If you fly out of the way, who needs to be hasted? Because the enemies can't hit you at all because you're in the sky. What are they going to do? Hurl rocks at you? Obviously, if you're up against spellcasters or ranged fighters, this isn't as good, but it's still incredible to be able to navigate the skies in combat, especially when you yourself are a ranged or a squishy. You could cast this on the wizard, or the ranger, or the rogue, or whoever else needs to get away from combat. That being said, you can also use it outside of combat, circumventing puzzles, navigating traps that are on the floor, anything that is a pitfall, or heck, even flying to the top of the castle rather than going through it, because there's an open window and you can just fly to the top. Flying speed is often seen by players as a broken mechanic. When you have a race that can naturally fly, they are often banned at the tables, but the fly spell is not. Concentration, 10 minutes, 60-foot fly speed, bam. You have now broken the game for 10 minutes, and no matter what the DM throws at you, you're going to be better off if you're flying. Just don't lose concentration and fall out of the sky. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.